Welcome back to Examining the Scriptures. The purpose of this video series is that we might know the Scriptures in a deeper way, that we might ask questions from the Scriptures as they come up in the context of the preaching ministry here at Remembrance Community Church. It is my hope that these videos will foster sermon-led discussion and that our church will take the message of the Word beyond Sunday into our week, that we will continue to meditate on the Word of God. I believe that as we further meditate on the Word of God, that it will sink deeper into our hearts. And so we use these videos both to answer questions and as a time for me to go a little bit deeper in some of the texts than I otherwise would have on a Sunday morning. I endeavor to at least limit the sermons to about 45 to 50 minutes, usually kind of in that 5-minute range. And so, needless to say, there are many things that kind of are left on the cutting room floor. And I want to talk about one of the points that I wasn't able to make this past Sunday. And it has to do, of course, with the text we had, which was Mark chapter 11, verses 27 through 33. As the authority of Jesus is questioned, let me just read it to you here. And they came again to Jerusalem. And as he was walking in the temple, there came to him the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders, and said unto him, By what authority doest thou these things? And who gave thee this authority to do these things? Jesus answered and said unto them, I will also ask of you one question, and answer me, and I will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John, was it from heaven or of men? Answer me. And they reasoned with themselves, saying, If we shall say from heaven, he will say, Why then did ye not believe him? But if we shall say of men, they feared the people. For all men counted John, that he was a prophet indeed. And they answered and said unto Jesus, We cannot tell. And Jesus answering saith unto them, Neither do I tell you by what authority I do these things. We asked the difficult question here, is Jesus being a good politician? Is Jesus just dodging the question by asking another question? And we showed how in rabbinic debate, actually it was common and it was an accepted practice to answer a question by a question. And in fact, in the question that Jesus asked to the scribes and the high priests here in this case, he was directly answering their question. He was directly answering their question by pointing them to John the Baptist and by entrapping them in their false view of who he was in light of John the Baptist. We looked kind of in several places, mostly in John chapter 1 and John chapter 3, and saw that the teaching of John the Baptist, in fact, his entire ministry, in fact, even his birth was for one purpose, to point to another, to point to Christ. And so Jesus is making the point by directing them to John that if you don't believe John, you're not going to believe me. And if you want to know where my authority comes from, well, think about John. What did John have to say about me? And he trips up the high priests there. He trips up the scribes there. And interestingly, these men who were self-absorbed, who thought very much of themselves, who were all about authority and power. Remember our discussion about authority? They're all about authority and power. They had to come to the answer to Jesus of, we don't know. We're not able to give you an answer. Can you imagine the embarrassment that it took them to get to that point? But there is a passage from Proverbs that I think is especially important and enlightens Jesus's answer to the high priests and the scribes here. I think it enlightens it for us. Listen to Proverbs chapter 26, and this is verses 4 and 5. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. In Jesus' answer here, I think we have a graphic representation of what this passage means. These men who were approaching Jesus were fools. They were some of the most highly educated, maybe the most intelligent people in that society, but they were fools. The scriptures say that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Those who don't fear the Lord, and these men certainly didn't fear the Lord. They were They were hypocritically using the worship of God for their own profit, as we talked about in a couple different sermons. They didn't fear the Lord, and so there was no wisdom in their minds. They were foolish because of the darkened state of their mind and their rejection of the Messiah and their rejection of the God of creation. And the scriptures say, answer not a fool according to his folly. We as Christians cannot be pulled into the folly of the fool. This oftentimes is borne out in our apologetic approach, in our approach to defending the God of the Bible and offering the theodicy and all of these different things. We offer to the fool concessions. We concede and we allow the fool, for example, to be the judge. And we say to the person who rejects God, who is a fool and darkened in their mind, we say to them this: here is the evidence, I'll present the evidence, and you are the judge. We put God on trial, but the scriptures don't say that. God is the judge. We don't put God on trial. We don't weigh the evidence against God. No, we present the truth. And so we're told, don't answer a fool according to his folly. These men, as they approach Jesus with these entrapping questions, if he answered them straightforwardly, he would be going into their folly. He would be going into their darkened mind state. And so he does not answer the fool according to his folly. But verse 5 likewise says, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. So we don't answer the fool in his folly, but we do answer the fool in a way of truth, right? We don't just walk away. The fool asks us a question and someone attacks the scriptures and lobs some ridiculous claim at you. You don't just walk away. First, the important thing, Jesus doesn't grant their starting point. Jesus doesn't grant their foolishness in the dark worldview they're starting from. We can't grant the starting point of the atheist. We can't grant the starting point that the question of God is up for debate, that it's about weighing the pros and cons. No, God is true. We answer then the fool according to truth, lest he be wise in his own conceit. See, if we give no answer, if we give no response, if we just walk away, then the fool thinks he is wise. The fool, according to his conceit, thinks that he is one. See the genius of Christ. Christ doesn't answer according to the folly, but he does give them an answer according to truth that exposes their folly. It exposes their foolishness. It exposes that they're men with unfit minds who've been given over to foolishness, darkened in their eyes. Would that we learn to answer and to stand up strong in the defense of the faith and in the questioning of the faith like Jesus. Don't answer the fool according to his folly, but answer the fool in his folly with truth, and his foolishness, his darkened nature will be unveiled. It will be made manifest. Bring all things into the light, because the light shines in the darkness and it will not be overcome. I hope this video has been helpful and that filled in a little bit of the beauty of Christ's answer. I'll see you next week on examining the scriptures as we go deeper into the word. Have a good week.